Hello everyone, today we're talking about Unearthed Arcana, the Playtest 6 for the Player's Handbook. What you're watching right now is the overview video. Tomorrow we will release all of the videos going into all the classes and some more specifics as to what is in the Unearthed Arcana. This is the biggest one so far, right?
Right. The previous Unearthed Arcana was the biggest Unearthed Arcana ever. This Unearthed Arcana now takes that crown and is now the new biggest Unearthed Arcana we have ever done. And in addition to 7 classes, there are also revised spells. There's even a brand new spell. There are brand new subclasses, because also for the first time in the playtest series, the classes that appear here all have multiple subclasses now. And so some of those subclasses are revisions of beloved subclasses from 2014.
Right.
And in a few cases, we are introducing entirely new subclasses. This is the first Unearthed Arcana in the series that represents a lot of refinement based on the playtest feedback that we've been receiving previously in the series. You and I talked in a previous video about this UA really representing the start of a new chapter in this series, because now we're really focusing on refining those things that are going to end up in the 2024 version of the Player's Handbook. And you're going to see here the return of some features from 2014 that might have been absent in earlier versions of this playtest material. They're going to see brand new features inspired by the playtest feedback we've received. So there is a lot to ingest here. Weapon Mastery is now in this Unearthed Arcana. We introduced that in the previous one. It was a huge hit. We now have the scores from the most recent playtest survey, and Weapon Mastery is here to stay. We will be refining it. We'll be digging into the details of some of those options. But now that we've seen that this feature is beloved, it now appears in additional classes. You're going to see it in this Unearthed Arcana in the Rogue, the Ranger, the Paladin, the Monk. And now those classes get to have new tactical experiences because of the introduction of Weapon Mastery. Also, something that is true of all 7 classes is their 20th level features have returned to 20th level.
Oh, okay.
We had been testing for a while the introduction of epic boon feats at 20th level in each class. Looking at the playtest feedback we've gotten since last year, there's interest in epic boon feats, but it's clear that people were not interested in them replacing their class's 20th level feature. Now, they never actually technically replaced them because we had taken those 20th level features and moved them to 18th level, but really the sentiment has been that people want their 20th level feature to be specific to their class. There's a note in the Unearthed Arcana that we will continue to explore epic boon feats, but we'll do that in a future Unearthed Arcana. And so now the focus is back on the 20th level features that each class gets. In some cases, those features are the same as they were in 2014, but then in other cases, we have introduced some brand new 20th level features. The very first class in the list, the Bard, has a brand new 20th level feature, Words of Creation.
There were other changes as well. You've moved some things back to the subclass choice. Starts earlier.
Yes, as you and I chatted about in one of our previous videos, we have shifted the subclass progressions for all of the classes to match their 2014 progressions. It was a fun experiment to see how it would work if every class proceeded through their subclass levels at the same time. But that exploration was causing some ripple effects that were then causing other problems in certain classes. And so now that we're in the refinement phase of this playtest process, we've returned to the tried and true subclass progressions from 2014. The one exception being that we are continuing to move forward in the playtest with all classes getting their first subclass level at 3rd level. That has actually been working well in the playtest, whereas the later level changes were not delivering the goods, basically. They were not increasing fun enough to justify some of the ripple effects in the classes. And so we have found that by returning to the 2014 level progression, we've not only been able to ensure cleaner compatibility with subclasses that are already in print, but it's also opened up space for us to do some exciting new design. We'll talk a bit about that when we get to the Rogue, for instance. Returning to the 2014 subclass level progression opened up space in the Rogue's class table for us to create a brand new feature for the whole class called Cunning Strike. But we'll talk more about that when we get to the Rogue.
This might be like something apart from all this, but I feel like there's like more of a planar energy theme coming from all the subclasses a little bit. Like the way the Shadow specifically references the Shadowfell. Obviously the Gloomstalker always did as well, but like I just get more of a planar energy feel from some of the subclasses, or like more on theme. So
something that we're able to do as we revisit subclasses, as we knit together a revised version of the Player's Handbook, is inject a bit more of the game's broader setting into some of the flavor text. And that broader setting, of course, is the multiverse. And so, yeah, there intentionally are more nods to the game's macro setting than ever before. And that's why you will now see a mention of the Shadowfell where maybe you didn't before.
Right.
Or you'll see a reference to the Feywild or the Nine Hells that wasn't in the previous version.
What was most exciting for this group of playtest, for Playtest 6?
We love taking feedback that people give us, analyzing it, then comparing it to our own playtest experience and refining the design based on that. And this Unearthed Arcana is all about that process. UA6, top to bottom, was about us as we move into this refinement phase of the playtest, really digging into what brings people joy, what's working well in our internal playtests and in our development and our balance passes, marrying all those things together to create versions of things that we hope will delight people for years to come. And of course, we're going to keep iterating over the next few months as this playtest continues. But it was really exciting to feel like in this playtest, a lot of things really snapping into place. And you can see now the 2024 books starting to come into focus here in the playtest process.